Welcome back. In part 2 of our series, we explore a world where Deku was abandoned by his mother. How does this change his path to greatness? Let's find out. After finishing the test in which Izuku emerged victorious using illusions against the heroes, both teams went to the projector room under All Might's orders. When the questions came, they were quick to fall on our Virgo saint. Mina, how did you do that? It was amazing, she said expectantly as she got very close to Izuku. Kirishima, dude. That was so cool. How the hands came out from all places, quite excited and admiring Izuku. Mineta, with those hands he can do that. He didn't finish his unholy sentence as some jack stuck into his neck. Kyoka, perverted pig, she said with some displeasure. Izuku was simply calm, with an expressionless face to so many questions. The only thing he wanted was not to fight. Izuku, I only avoided a hand-to-hand confrontation, and I accomplished the objective, no more, no less. At that moment his companions were surprised by Izuku's behavior. They thought he was angry. To tell the truth, they couldn't decipher it since his face was better than a poker face. Basically everyone was intrigued by one question: what is Izuku's quirk? But there were 3 people who didn't care at all about what their other classmates thought. One was Bakugo, who was honestly about to burst with anger. The second was Kaminari. Trying to act cool, he simply turned around and leaned his back against the wall. And Todoroki. Well, Todoroki is Todoroki. All Might, well, even if I say this. The MVP of the tests was none other than young Izuku. He said it in a shout. Someone explain to me why? Asking his students. Momo, yes, All Might sensei. Said a raven-haired girl. First of all, Izuku had control from the beginning to the end in his simulation. The hasty action of the group of heroes made things easier for the villain of the test by falling directly into his trap, not to mention that, thanks to that, there was no structural damage and no injuries, in addition to adopting the role perfectly. At her statement, all the students looked at her in astonishment at her analysis of the test, basically detailed with concepts supported by the events that occurred. All Might, he said more than I was going to say, he thought, with a cloud in his head and an aura of depression around him. Once the tests were over, everyone was at the start waiting for the final instructions from the symbol of peace. All Might, the tests were carried out successfully. There are no more injuries except for young Midoriya. Now you can go change and return to the classroom. Now it will be your turn with Aizawa-sensei. The only thing that came to mind were boring history classes along with Aizawa's disturbing look. Tsuyu, that's going to be bad, Karo said the little frog in a clear tone of fear. All Might, okay shonens, I'm goodbye Ajaja. He simply ran off as if he were the road runner. After the boring classes of the caterpillar and several terrifying looks from it, the students returned to their dormitories. Of course Izuku was not worried about his sister since he knew well that she would recover quickly. What had him most intrigued was her relationship with the symbol of peace, since clearly All Might went to see her in the infirmary. Even though all his classmates went to their dormitories, he went to his meditation spot. That's right, he returned to that small hill that is deep in the UA forest. The surprising thing is that this time, when meditating, he felt a strange and gigantic cosmos behind him, but he did not see evil and dark intentions in said cosmos. Asmita, Izuku. Right? Wow. You're younger than I thought, said a stranger with hair like Izuku's, only paler and with more developed features, while carrying a rosary in his hands. You are younger than I thought, said a stranger with hair like Izuku's, only paler and with more developed features, while carrying a rosary in his hands. Izuku, you are my ancestor, aren't you? Asmita, a Virgo. He said it with clear interest, since it wasn't every day that your ancestor in wearing the golden armor of the Virgin would appear before you. Asmita, it seems that Buddha has already told you about me. She said this while adopting the lotus position in front of Izuku. Izuku, that's right, he told me that you created the outstanding technique of the Virgo saints. The Tenbu Horin, and also that it is more powerful than all of them since it is capable of removing all 10 senses, becoming feared by the deities. Asmita, it seems that you already know everything. Then take in that she hands him the rosary in his hands. The rosary of the 108 beads is an amplifier for the saints of Virgo. With this you can remove up to the 8th sense. You do not need to learn anything since it works the same way, removing the 5 main ones. And Izuku, she said, standing up to leave, my successor will soon come. Shijima, a Virgo. He will teach you how to use the Ungyo and the doors of Buddha. For now I retire. I expect great things from you. Izuku, a Virgo. After the last words, Asmita gradually disappeared until there was nothing left but a golden glow where she stood, leaving with the cherry petals carried by the wind. Asmita, Asmita's voice could be heard. Izuku. Protect humanity, and also your honor as a knight. Izuku, I will do so. He said with a half-faced smile, and for the first time in a long time he bothered to open his eyes to observe the particles that were heading towards the stars. What a wind. So soft, don't you think? Asmita. At that moment he stood up to look at the petals at the same time that he put on his armor. The next day, Izuku returned to visit old Yasuhiro for a while in the morning. Since he loved to talk to him and talk more, it should be noted that since his sight returned, Yasuhiro looks more alive and more cheerful, which makes him a somewhat funny old man. Already arriving at the UA, Izuku found himself with a crowd of journalists. He instantly sensed that it was because All Might taught classes there. To avoid further problems he wanted to enter as if nothing happened, hoping that the journalists would not interview him. But everything went with Hades since they saw his uniform and immediately crowded around him. Izuku simply watched as a stampede of cameras and microphones approached him as if it were an armed robbery. Reporter 1, hey you. How does All Might give his classes? What do you have to say about his special classes? Reporter 1, is he a good teacher? Does he do all the homework? Reporter 2, how often do you go to the bathroom? And do you wash your hands? Reporter 2, are you a student in an exclusive course of his? Reporter 3, can I have your phone number? Reporter 4, are you transsexual? Is there any hot news among UA students? These were, among others, the questions from the reporters that were directed towards our calm and peaceful Golden Saint of Virgo, who undoubtedly kept his cool in the face of this situation. Izuku, I'm not a woman, just having long hair doesn't mean I'm a girl, and what kind of questions are those? Are they pedophiles or are they reporters from an erotic magazine? And you? Pointing to the one who asked for his number, I'll call the police, and if he asks me if he teaches classes. Of course he does, after all, he's a teacher. What did you think he was, a statue outside the bathrooms? Don't disturb. Turning to see the first reporter, changing his face to an expressionless and calm one, his classes are very good. Already finished venting, Izuku proceeded to enter the facilities. Honestly, another of the Virgo Saint's fits of rage for messing with his hair or confusing him with a woman. Just at that moment Aizawa passed by towards the reporters. Aizawa, you are disturbing UA classes, please leave. After this, he simply turned around to go give his classes in classroom 1A. Reporter, hey. We just want to see All Might when trying to advance. Some metal doors were activated and an alarm sounded. What is this? Reporter, that's the UA barrier. If someone tries to enter without the student or teacher ID, the system simply kicks them out. Saying this in a somewhat worried way for her colleague, the reporter calmed down in the face of such a strange security system. Already in the classroom, Aizawa was reviewing what they did in combat training. Aizawa, good job on combat training yesterday. I watched the video of the results, looking at Bakugo. You are talented, but you should stop acting like a child. Bakugo, TSK. I know. He said it with displeasure. Aizawa, and Midoriya. You broke your arm again, huh? I don't like repeating the same thing twice, but if you don't control it, you'll just have to work harder. Midoriya, hello sensei. Aizawa, well. And Izuku looking at him, who was more expressionless than a rock, but inside he just wanted to explode because of the journalist's good job. Izuku, he just nodded. Aizawa, well, without further delay, let's get started with this. I'm sorry to say it late, but today you will do. All the students, another special test? They thought in unison. Of course Izuku didn't care at all. Aizawa, they will decide the class president. All students, it's a normal activity. From that moment on, chaos reigned in the classroom. Everyone wanted to be class president and raise their voices, giving their proposals to lead and be the best class. Until a hobbit with grape-shaped hair said something that really upset the saint with the constellation of the Virgin, whose purpose is to take care of women. Mineta, I want to be, my proposal is to make all the girls' skirts much shorter. At that moment only the sound of a Tibetan gong was heard, and their backs froze from feeling such a sensation, and they only looked at Izuku, who was looking at Mineta, but there was something wrong in all this. He was looking at him with his eyes open. Izuku, one more word. And I'll take away your 5 senses, he said it neutrally, but that was what was scary. Mineta, hi. I was looking into Izuku's eyes. In his eyes the only thing I saw was hell? Or the hells? Was it hell? Or the hells? Izuku, good. Then he closes his eyes again and sits in silence while everyone looks at him with some fear. Lita, silence. Please. Being class president is a serious responsibility of leading the others. It is not someone that anyone can do. Since it is someone that should be trusted. She said this, making movements of a slot machine. I propose a vote. The one who gets the most votes will be the president, and the second will be the vice president. What do you think about this, sensei? Aizawa, I don't care, just do it quickly before class ends. Oruga mode, activated. Caterpillar mode, activated. Lita, thank you very much. After a few minutes of the voting starting, the results were given, although Lita did not expect what happened next. Izuku 7 votes. Momo 4 votes. Izumi, 3 votes. Aizawa, well then. Izuku will be the class president and Yaoyorozu will be the vice president. Izuku, this is what happens when I show off my skills and I'm a bit cocky. Well, against enemies or opponents it's inevitable. Momo, MMH. How frustrating. She said it, clearly disappointed. Tsuyu, I don't think it's bad, but. Kirishima, yes, after all Izuku was totally fired up in the fights. Kyoka, but he just stayed there meditating, saying this he was surprised by what his partner said about turned on. Kirishima, didn't you see that aura that looked like fire? That's a man thing. Izuku, no idea what you're talking about. Lita, I admit I was defeated, standing in a corner with a cloud of depression. As school hours ended and lunchtime began, Izuku found himself in the cafeteria sitting next to Lita, Uraka, and Izumi. Uraka, who? There are a lot of people today. And the rice is very tasty. Don't you think so, Izumi-chan? Izumu, why yes it is. Lita, there are a lot of people, since all the UA General Studies courses, including the support course, are combined. Izuku, so. The class president, huh? It will be complicated but not impossible, he said while eating some of his rice. Lita, you'll be fine, your judgment and reaction to critical moments will have you followed, not to mention your calm in dangerous situations, so I think you're more than fit to be the class president. Looking at Izuku with a half smile, work hard. Using his movement with his arm as usual. Uraka, but didn't you want to be class president? You wear glasses. Izumi/Izuku, Uraka speaks without thinking. Uraka, yeah. I see you're a rich kid. Lita, our rich kid? Sighing in defeat, I've tried to change my way of speaking to avoid being called that, since my family has been heroes for generations. Do you know the turbo hero Ingenium? Izuku, he's your brother, right? Still eating calmly. Izumi, the hero Ingenium is your brother? Amazing. The conversation could have continued if not for the fact that the alarms were activated, a level 3 security alert, after which all the students panicked and evacuated the cafeteria, except for one who stayed calmly eating his rice. Izuku, what a huge scandal. Even at mealtime this happens, although. The alarm did detect an intruder directing his gaze towards the entrance of the UA. I guess I'll take care of this. After finishing his meal he left the tray on the cafeteria counter and prepared to go towards the emergency exit, walking calmly seeing that it was full of students. Lita, Midoriya. Are you okay? Izumi, everyone is panicking. And it's just the reporters. Uraka, Izumi-chan. Basically it was chaos, pushing here, hitting. It didn't take long for some people to get hurt, but then, the alarm stopped ringing and all you could hear was nothing. Just nothing. And immediately it started ringing like some kind of bell. Izuku, he was floating in the lotus position in front of everyone while a melody that they didn't know where it came from calmed the students. You better calm down. Nothing happened. Just the press outside, you should stay calm instead of panicking. You are future heroes and heroines, your mission is not to instill panic but to appease it. As the strange melody progressed, the students calmed down, but at the same time the environment changed into a beautiful place full of flowers and an incredible peace, which seemed strange to many and to others that the sky itself was before their eyes, something they had never seen in their lives. Not only Class 1A was impressed by this. Everyone who was there saw this event, but what caught their attention was that Izuku was in the middle of everyone up high with a small statue of Buddha at his side. From that moment on everyone called him Buddha. But in a certain sense. They were completely right. End of relaxation and mystical journey. A day had passed since the incident with the journalists and the divine intervention of Buddha. The students of Class 1A were already prepared to receive their next class with Mama Caterpillar. Aizawa, okay guys. Today will be a class with 3 more instructors. All Might, me and 1 more person. Sero, sorry, but what is the class about? Aizawa, disasters, catastrophes and all that. In a nutshell. Rescue. Aizawa, your classes will be rescue training. Kaminari, rescue. It seems like there will be a lot of work, hee. and more with a statue looking sideways at Izuku. Kirishima, hey, don't be like that, besides, rescue is the job of every hero, my arms are more than ready. Tsuyu, no one can defeat me in the water. Karo. Aizawa, hey you guys, with a twitch of his eyebrow today you'll decide whether to use your suits or not this time, the training will be off field, so we'll go by bus, that's all, get ready. Izumi, finally this is what I was looking for, to be like him, to be able to save people, with a lot of determination in her gaze. Already outside the UA waiting for the bus that would take them to the training camp, they were all extremely relaxed despite what they were going to do. Lida, Izuku. With all due respect, wouldn't it be appropriate to prepare the students to board the bus? Saying this with clear seriousness. Izuku, it won't be necessary Lida, the bus that will take us is not the type you think. With his expression a little serious, something is wrong, I sense evil, greed and bloodlust. When the bus arrives, everyone gets on, but Lida was down for some reason, the reason was that Izuku was right, the bus was totally different from what he had thought. Lida, you were right, I'm a disaster. You well deserve the position of president, I'm a disappointment. Izuku, aren't you exaggerating a bit? I mean, it's just a bus, he thought with a drop of sweat running down his head. Tsuyu, I say what comes to mind, Midoriya-chan, your quirk is like the one All Might has, right? Izumi, eh? Why you really believe that? Hee I doubt it hee, she was nervously scared thinking that she had been discovered. Izuku, you're bad at keeping secrets, sis. Tsuyu, Izuku-chan, what is your quirk? It's quite rare, you make illusion shields, and you can use gravity. Izuku, I don't have a quirk. They are monk arts. Clearly lying so they would know he is a saint, since in his research learning to use computers, people with cosmos were formally repudiated as phenomena by those who possess a quirk, but they did not know of the existence of the saints of Athena. Kirishima, monk arts? Incredible. And Tsuyu-chan, All Might doesn't get hurt when using his quirk, remember? Plus, a good quirk makes you very popular, you have to see it from that point of view too. Tsuyu, Bakugo-chan won't be popular, he's a bad-tempered bomb. Bakugo, what the hell? You want to fight? Tsuyu, come on? Kaminari, it's amazing that someone already knows your personality. Bakugo, what the hell is wrong with you? Pikachu, you're late. I'll kill you. Momo, what a vulgar conversation. Passing a vulgar conversation, as Momo says, they already arrived at what is known as USJ. Izuku felt more and more danger, and therefore he was put on full alert, giving cosmos pulses undetectable to the students, but Aizawa and an astronaut felt it. 13, guys, sorry for the delay. Izumi, it's the Space Hero 13. The chivalrous hero who has rescued tons of people from many disasters. He's in front of me. She said it with total fangirl emotion. Once they introduced themselves, the students along with the professional heroes entered the USJ facilities, further increasing the tension on Izuku's part. Something seemed strange to him, not only that. He felt Cosmos. A weak but evil Cosmos. Obviously due to problems of recklessness on the part of a muscular hero, he could not attend training, so teachers Eraserhead and 13 would be in charge of training the students in rescue tactics and strategies. At that the lights go out, Izuku could no longer bear the danger and began to emanate his golden cosmos, going to the front of everyone, adopting the position of the Saint of Virgo. Izuku, sensei. We have problems. He said it with a neutral tone but fixed on the fountain that was in the middle of the stadium. Mina, what is that? Saying this with a bit of doubt and fear. Aizawa, gather together and don't move. He said in a serious tone, putting on his glasses. 13, protect the students. Kirishima, what's wrong? It's like the entrance exam, so has the lesson already started? Aizawa, don't move. They're all villains. At that moment everyone became upset, and the scared faces were quick to appear, except for one. One who saw the villains as simple hungry ghosts that pounced on dead flesh. That's right, it was Izuku, who felt sorry for them. Kurogiri, 13, and Eraserhead, huh? The information said that All Might would be here, saying that hundreds, if not thousands, of villains came out of the portal, plus a muscular villain with a bird's head, which upset Izuku as he emanated cosmos. Shigaraki, where is he? We came with this crowd. To kill the symbol of peace. All Might, I can't believe he's not here. We'll break his spirit by killing his pupils no matter what. At that moment Aizawa launches himself against all the villains, buying time for them to escape, but in that moment the shadow known as Kurogiri passes through all of them, transporting them to different parts of USJ, leaving only a few at the entrance. Kurogiri, so 13, today I died. Instantly fell to the ground, stamped by a strong pressure. Izuku, watch your words, little villain. Just sit there. Izuku then takes the metal part of the villain and throws it back towards the center of the fountain. Sister, take care. Those still at the entrance were impressed by Izuku's strength, thinking his attacks were merely illusions. Izuku, sensei. Let me take care of this, he said seriously, taking out his rosary. 13. Okay, but if you are in danger, leave immediately. Young Lita, notify the teachers quickly. Lita, but sensei, I can't leave them alone. Izuku, go now. Lita, it is an order, as president said this stoically. Lita, oh okay. She quickly left through the main door towards the UA. Down below was chaos, but seeing that Izumi was hurt and Aizawa was being beaten by the giant beast, he had no choice but to jump towards them. Just as Shigaraki was about to put his hands on Tsuyu's face, Izuku appeared in front of her, holding Shigaraki's hand and sending him flying with a pulse of cosmos, and then in the same way he made the Nomu retreat. Izuku, I guess nothing will stop you, right? Izumi, or should I say, sister? He said it with a half smile. Izumi, are you your brother? He said this shedding tears of happiness, since he didn't believe that his brother whom he searched for a long time would be in front of him during these days. Izuku, go with the others, it's not the time now, everyone is at the entrance, only Bakugo and Mineta are missing. He said this throwing Mineta to the entrance with a blow. Besides Izumi, you are injured. Tsuyu, I think I like Izuku-chan more now. Karo heading to the entrance, taking Aizawa with Izumi. Shigaraki, Nomu, kill him now. Saying this with clear hatred, the Nomu acted instantly at the command but stopped due to a glow that blinded him for a long time. Izuku, to my Virgo. Upon saying those words, Izuku's necklace shined and separated into several parts which dressed Izuku in Virgo's armor. Seeing Izuku wearing a golden armor, everyone was shocked, but at the same time confused, since he named the name of a constellation, basically a zodiac sign. Seeing him, two people were surprised but angry at the same time. An invisible girl saw him as her knight in shining armor who came to her rescue. Izuku, looking seriously at the villains and starting to levitate in front of everyone in the lotus position, you who have committed atrocious crimes, disappear from this world. At that moment the atmosphere became darker than usual and only the sound of the rosary beads being shaken could be heard. Izuku, Tenku Haja. Kaimimorio. Instantly thousands of specters pounced on the villains in a tumult of wails and screams from the spirits and villains who not only hurt them physically, but also hurt their souls, leaving most unconscious or. Instantly thousands of specters rushed against the villains in a tumult of wails and screams from the spirits and villains who not only hurt them physically, but also hurt their souls, leaving most unconscious or very close to death. Only screams of fear could be heard as the Knight of Virgo continued to wave his rosary, controlling the spirits until the Nomu tried to intervene. His attack was not very effective as the spirits made it difficult for the creature. Shigaraki, what the hell is this? Who are you? Izuku, after finishing his attack and emanating his cosmos again, I am known as the man closest to God, guardian of the sixth house of the zodiac, I am Izuku of Virgo. Faced with this revelation, an intellectual girl saw this with astonishment, since what she read in mythology books or fantasy stories related the existence of knights who fought against evil. Momo, they're real. Athena's saints are real. She said, clearly amazed. After this, most people, including the teachers, recognized that the saints of Athena, knights who fought for justice, were mythological fantasy books. But they told the adventures of these saints, who were named the first heroes. Kurogiri, Shigaraki. This is beyond our control. Shigaraki, Nomu at him with everything. Nomu, Gra. In that instant he fired several cosmos bullets which terrified his companions at this. Kyoka, they're going to kill him. Hagakure, Izuku-kun. Before the cosmos bullets hit, Izuku's voice echoed throughout USJ. Izuku, Khan. Shigaraki, what? Shigaraki, what? Impossible, how do I block it? Starting to scratch his neck even harder, kill him. Villain 1, here we go, Blondie. Villain 1, we will make you suffer. Several villains launched themselves at Izuku, but at that moment they saw a path of skulls and a maiden on a steed. They couldn't think much about that since they heard Izuku speak. Izuku, Tenma Kafuku. All the villains who went against Izuku fell face first to the ground. All the villains who went against Izuku fell face down on the ground. It was basically a spectacle that everyone watched in amazement, until someone arrived. That's right, it was the symbol of peace. All Might, Watashi wa ga kita. Entering through the door, breaking it abruptly. All Might, young people can rest easy, I will take care of the rest. He said this and then jumped in front of the Nomu. Shigaraki, okay. The League of Villains objective is finally here. Nomu finishes him off. Izuku, Goma in throwing the technique at the Nomu to weaken it. All yours, All Might. All Might, thank you, young Izuku. He simply did not notice the armor he was wearing and prepared to start fighting against the Nomu. There was nothing to say, it was a titanic fight. The only one standing around was Izuku, well in the lotus position. The battle that All Might had against the Nomu was so tough that Izuku increased the power of the technique to give All Might more advantage. All Might, Detroit Smash. Between exchanges of punches and kicks, the fight was in favor of All Might. Doing this, he grabbed the Nomu and slammed it against the ground and then gave more blows. Between exchanges of punches and kicks, the fight was in favor of All Might. Doing this, he grabbed the Nomu and slammed it against the ground and then gave more blows, making it retreat further and further. Shigara, Io, what does this mean? We should win. Scratching his neck, looking like a real leper. Kurogiri, I'll help him. Launching himself against All Might. Izuku, Khan. Instantly Kurogiri stopped moving, and feeling scared, he flew away from the blows produced by All Might and the Nomu. Kurogiri, what the hell is going on? I can't move. Izuku, my technique means absence of movement not only makes a shield stopping atoms, I can also stop the movement of objects. Now do not interfere. Throwing it even further with a burst of cosmos. All Might, a hero. Punching the Nomu in the face always gets out of trouble. He then kicks the Nomu upwards, then jumps and grabs it by the arm, crashing it into the ground, generating a loud bang. All Might, hey villain, have you ever heard these words? Go further. All Might, plus. You ultra. After that blow of gods, and sending the Nomu flying, the students were stunned by the spectacular fight. Sero, All Might won. Mineta, it's great. I won. We're safe. Mina, I was so scared. Uraka, plus ultra. Izumi, brother. All Might, thinking this with tears. Everyone was happy, but even though All Might's time wasn't up, he couldn't take it anymore, since against a Cosmos user it was a difficult thing to fight even with Izuku's help. Izuku, you are amazing, All Might sensei. He said, smiling. All Might, your help. It was thanks to you that he could fight him. And that armor? Who are you really? Izuku, you will know in time. Besides, those creatures are not human, but they possess energy equal to mine. All Might, hearing this, he was surprised, since he did not think that a user of that energy was so dangerous. At that point Shigaraki was preparing to attack All Might, but a shot to his hand interrupted him. Nazu, sorry for the delay guys. I gathered all the heroes that were available. Lita, I'm Lita Tenya. Future hero. I'm back. Seeing all the professional heroes, some of the relief students began to cry. They were safe, everything was over, or so they thought. Shigaraki, ha ha ha. Good. Perfect. All the heroes gathered, what more could I ask for? Nomus come out. Instantly Kurogiri created another portal at the same time that Shigaraki, and he escaped. Shigaraki, good luck with your massacre. All Might, everyone. Escape. They are no match for them. There were at least 40 Nomus, the same proportion as the previous one. All the students were scared, the heroes were preparing to fight, but All Might's warning made them hesitate. Cements, damn, this is very bad. Present Mike, we'll have to fight anyway. Midnight, rescue the boy Gua. Huh? Where is he? With her eyes searching for Izuku. Then the place began to change. The entire USJ disappeared, giving way to a bunch of Buddhist mandalas. Beginning of the massacre. Uraka, what is this? She said it with a lot of fear and anguish. Kaminari, what's going on? Is that Izuku's doing? Tokoyami, but where is it? I don't see it. Todoroki, look up. Everyone looked up, even the Nomus. Instantly, the 40 Nomus jumped towards Izuku. Who? Only uttered 2 simple words, which would end all this chaos. Izuku, Tenbu Horin. Saying this, the Nomus simply froze in the air, impressing everyone, not only because of the mandalas that moved around but because Izuku was facing 40 of those creatures alone. Izuku, you're late. If you are those evil creatures, I will finish you off this time. Receive the eternal sleep of death. Those last words terrified everyone. The way he said it was simply genuine. This left both Bakugo and Kaminari thinking, and honestly all the heroes who saw this feat. Genuine, this left both Bakugo and Kaminari thinking, and honestly all the heroes who saw this feat. Izuku, deprivation of the five senses. In that instant the Nomus fell dead like rain, they are simply scum. Faced with this, no one could say anything. What they saw was terrifying. This was the power of man. Closest to God. Izumi, brother, who are you? Power loader, who is he? Is he another villain? He said this on guard just like some of the professional heroes present. Midnight, he's the be pretty boy, she said, looking at him with a lot of fear. Izumi, brother. Why you killed them? Momo, he's AAS Saint of Athena. Ectoplasm, what? Like in that mythological fantasy book? So they really exist. Nezu, wow, this is a big surprise. Cementos, and the director says it. Hagakure, Izuku-kun is one of those heroes? Everyone had different thoughts, some of astonishment, others of fear and anguish. But everyone froze, even the remaining villains, when they saw Izuku slowly descending, already deactivating his technique to stand in front of the remaining villains. Villain 1, why you, who are you, monster? Villain 1, who the hell do you think you are? Izuku, poor lost souls. They've already lost their sanity. What is this about demons? Monsters? Demons are those found in hell. And monsters, hey. Here the only monsters are already dead. He said this quite calmly without reacting in the slightest. Villain 2, to the guys. Those things about the saints of Athena are just stories. Hearing their partner's words, the remaining villains did not hesitate to attack Izuku, this time. He didn't want to kill anyone, so he dedicated himself to using his fists and kicks to fight the remaining ones. Izuku, I will spare your lives. I don't like death, so take this, he said in his monotonous tone. Instantly Izuku distorted for a brief moment, and the next second 5 of the 15 villains who were still standing fell unconscious. Villain 2, what did you do? Who are you? Damn seated man, she said, hiding her apparent fear. Izuku, they've said it many times. They're a fairy tale. A saint at the service of Athena, Izuku a Virgo. And that he began to run towards them. Only a golden blur was seen and the rest were left the same as the first ones. All Might and the rest of the heroes watched this in amazement. The fairy tales about the first heroes were true. Even Class 1A watched in amazement as the Saint of Virgo took off his helmet, resting it on his abdomen and being held by his right hand. Ectoplasm, so. Sometimes stories are real. He said this trying to digest reality. Midnight, it seems so. I ask for it for myself, you will no longer be the Saint of Virgo, he said it in a somewhat perverted way. Izuku, going back towards the exit with total calm, looking at Midnight out of the corner of his eye, this girl is crazy. That's what Izuku thought, as he opened his eyes for a second to rest, obviously without releasing his power. That's what Izuku thought, as he opened his eyes for a second to rest, obviously without releasing his power. Although to be honest, he closed them again for a good reason. He could be the calmest, and with the coldest mind, but inside, he was still quite shy with women, in short, a prince or a Virgo. When all the chaos had passed, the professional heroes could be seen inspecting the damage, looking for flaws in the security system or strange signs, in order to avoid a future disaster. Midnight, gosh. I can't believe the main villains ran away after they put on such a great show in this place. Nezu, they caught us off guard, huh? The most important thing is that the students are okay. The professionals nodded in understanding and then helped those who remained to leave USJ, because outside the facility there were ambulances, firefighters and something that Izuku, well, he doesn't like at all, since they would surely interrogate him for a long time. That's how the police are. Izuku, I exaggerated again, but they deserved it, he thought, very satisfied with the lesson he gave the villains. Elsewhere. More specifically in a bar, a portal opened, dropping a wounded Shigaraki, quite frustrated since his plan had failed miserably. Shigaraki, I was shot in both legs, the Nomus were defeated, and all by a kid in armor. All because of a fantasy tale. You were wrong, sensei. The symbol of peace is completely healthy, he said, shouting at a television that only showed a white image. Kurogiri, not only that. There was a boy. Blonde hair with armor. He apparently used the same power as the Nomus, but it was much stronger and purer. I wasn't wrong, they just weren't prepared enough. Besides, you saw that saint, right? Hey, so they're real. Did you bring what I asked for? Shigaraki, even though I don't know what he wants it for. Then he takes out a small metal bottle, something technological that contained a very intense golden essence or aura. Question mark, perfect. This will be very useful to us. The Nomus were created based on an artificial energy. In the books it is called cosmos, but I couldn't replicate it. Now with this in our hands, we will kill, not only the symbol of peace, but the last saint of Athena. Back in USJ, several buses could be seen being filled with captured villains and others with the bodies of the Nomus. Izuku. Well, he was separated from the students in handcuffs but surrounded by heavily armed police. More than police, they looked like military. The reason was simple. The cosmos was used several years ago. In the time of myth, more accurately, people saw the use of the cosmos as a danger, more than quirks, but the existence of the saints, were stories. Until that moment. Nakamura, well, apart from the boy in armor, everyone is fine. I still can't believe that all those stories are true. He said it with quite a bit of impression. Tell me, boy, what is your purpose? Izuku, protect, save, guard and never doubt, he said in a simple but firm tone of voice. Nakamura, I see, then we will confiscate that weapon. He didn't finish speaking because Izuku interrupted him. Izuku, I will not give them the Virgo armor. Even if I become a villain or a vigilante, I will continue to protect everyone. It is the legacy that was given to me, and I will not disregard it because of the current laws of society, especially because of the fear that it is because I can use the cosmos. Police 1, silence. Phenomenon. Nezu, that's enough. He's a UA student, he defended himself from the attack, he didn't do anything wrong. Policeman 2, I killed 40 of those things. Nezu, he's blind. He said nervously. Izuku, thanks for the help. But yes, I killed those creatures, they weren't human, and even if they were alive, you have to get your hands dirty. Nakamura, anyway, release him. For now we'll let you go, okay? He said in a cheerful tone. Izuku, thank you, officer. For now. Where is Aizawa-sensei? Nakamura, he was just taken to the hospital. He has multiple fractures, but he will recover with a long rest. After listening to the conversation, all the students were happy and were able to calm down a bit until, well, the questions came. Momo, you are one of Athena's saints? How? They weren't just legends? She said excitedly. Izuku, great, here they come. Kirishima, dude. You're one of the first heroes? Does that mean you're old? Mineta, oh no, I won't say anything, because I always get the worst part. Kaminari, huh? What the hell is the blonde saint? Bakugo, I don't care if he's one of those saints, I'll make him explode with armor and everything. Ojiro, you don't think about anything else but exploding? He said with a drop of sweat. Bakugo, you want to fight? I'll kill you. Sato, hey Izuku. How did you do all that? It was great. Sero, teach me how to do that. Like when? Tell me how to do it, come on, don't be stingy. He said on his knees so I could teach him. Kyoka, seriously, I already felt something strange about you. She said this with a half smile and with the jacks embedded in Kaminari. Uraka, it was great. He made Fuse and then Tenkujaya. And Fu. Ghosts came out. I was quite excited when telling the stories. Tsuyu, Izuku-chan is one of the greatest heroes, Karo, and you are Midoriya-chan's brother, Karo. After this, silence reigned over the place for a long time, somewhat uncomfortable for the saint, but it was interrupted when Izumi ran into her brother's arms. Izumi, I don't care if you are a saint or a knight, as the stories say, you are my brother. I finally found you, she said, crying with joy. Hagakure, Izuku-kun, you are bad for making your little sister cry. Izuku, I'm sorry, but she's my twin sister. Hey, he said this while caressing Izumi's head. Tokoyami, this is amazing. Kaminari and Mineta, he's an emo, the perverted duo thought in unison about their raven-headed companion. Todoroki, incredible, what? That he's his brother, or that he's a living tale? He said in a bored tone. Bakugo, the story is you're cooler with legs. Tokoyami, both, answering Todoroki, ignoring Bakugo. Bakugo, don't ignore me, you pair of guys. Once the chaos was over, the students were asked to return to UA, more specifically to the dormitories. All the way they asked Izuku questions about things about the saints or knights, he simply replied that he would tell them everything when he got to the dormitories. Already in the dormitories it was afternoon, almost night. The reason for the delay was that they had to testify before the authorities about the USJ incident. At this moment they were in the common room surrounding Izuku, who was sitting on a cushion. Izuku, fine, I'll answer your questions, but in order please, he said calmly, waiting for the tsunami of questions. Momo, I'm going first. Is it true that saints exist and how many are there? Izuku, well, in that he makes all the space around him go black, making many stars and galaxies appear. Tsuyu, amazing. Sero, is this the universe? Everyone was impressed to see the universe. It was right in front of them, and in the middle of the galaxy was Izuku. Izumi, this is very cute and cool, she thought with shining eyes. Izuku, well, answering your question, yes, they are real, but since the time of the myth that the knights or saints of Athena ceased to exist, currently no one has manifested the cosmos, therefore there is no one suitable to be a saint. One of my missions is to look for people who possess it, mostly quirkless, since by not having a quirk, they can possess the cosmos. Your next question, we are a total of 88 knights, representing the 88 constellations of the cosmos. Each knight has a guardian constellation. Sero, and what's yours? Izuku, my guardian constellation is Virgo, belonging to the zodiac signs, he said calmly, making the stars of Virgo shine in the cosmos he projected. Mina, I'm next, Edo. Why is your armor golden? Izuku, sighing, well, there are 3 ranks, bronze, silver and gold. The southern constellations are the ones carried by the bronze knights. In total there are 48 bronze knights, those to the north are the silver rank. In total there are 24 silver armors for the knights, giving a long pause. Finally, those that are governed by the zodiac. 12 constellations. 12 golden armors. From Aries to Pisces, only some are chosen to carry these armors. Kirishima, which saint is the strongest and most manly? He said this posing as a bodybuilder. Izuku, I don't understand the manly thing. But if you're referring to brute strength, my master told me stories about the Taurus saints. Strong, unstoppable and with a noble heart, they were true titans of pure strength in battle. Kirishima, wow. A Taurus saint. Hee. Hagakure, you can see me, right? How did you make me visible? Izuku, I just deactivated your quirk. You don't control it yet, so you can make yourself visible if you know how to control it, smiling at him. Mineta, were there women? This bothered them a little because of how perverted their partner could be, but they fell silent upon hearing Izuku's response. Izuku, that's right. They were known as Amazons. All female knights hid their femininity behind a mask they wore, since Athena initially did not allow women in her ranks. When an Amazon is surprised by a man without his mask, she has only 2 options. Kill him or love him. Mineta, an Amazon. Izuku, I don't recommend that, since when they wear their mask they are not feminine at all. Everyone was satisfied with Izuku's answers, but there was someone who wanted to ask one last question. Izumi, brother. Are there more like you? And, with stars in her eyes and clinging to him, what is your most powerful technique? Izuku, putting on a serious face that his other companions noticed immediately, the most powerful technique that I possess is forbidden by Athena, since it breaks the rules of the knights, besides being highly destructive, although on a smaller scale it has the force of the Big Bang, known as the exclamation of Athena. He who uses this technique, not only loses his honor and his right as a knight, he is also branded as the worst of cowards even after dying. To make it worse, using this technique has a high probability of those who perform it perishing. At that moment the entire galaxy began to spin faster. His companions thought that Izuku was angry, but it was quite the opposite, he was simply nostalgic. Izuku, there is no one like me today. I not only watch over the protection of humanity, I seek the truth of it. What is the purpose for which I, a saint, am or was born? What is my true purpose? Tsuyu, Izuku-chan. Are you okay, Karo? Izuku, yes I am. At least, you know part of what I am, giving a long sigh and then turning around to his room. I am, the last living saint. After the revelations by Izuku, he dedicated himself to meditating in silence in his room, thinking if it was the right thing to reveal the world of the cosmos to his companions. For now he was hesitating, since putting them in that world was much more dangerous. Having so many doubts in his head, he left his room. It was almost 2 a.m., and he dedicated himself to going to the place in the forest to try to talk to his father and teacher again. Izuku, Master, do you think it was the right thing to reveal the truth to them? What I am and who I am? He said with his thoughts scrambled. Buddha, my son. Whether you made a mistake or not, it is your decision, whether right or wrong, and you must face the consequences that come with doing so. he said behind Izuku's back as he had taken physical form in the form of a giant statue. Whether you made a mistake or not, it's your decision, whether it's right or wrong, and you must face the consequences of doing so, he said behind Izuku's back as he had taken physical form in the form of a giant statue -1. Izuku, I see, I still doubt. I doubt if it was the right thing to do, and I also need to be stronger to be able to defend them from now on, he said with a little frustration. Buddha, you are wrong, Izuku. Doubt is your worst enemy. Do not doubt, you have to have your thoughts firm, and the main thing I teach you. Form before strength, strength without form is useless. Izuku, father. I still don't understand many things, life is so coarse and difficult. Buddha, but that makes it interesting, doesn't it? Izuku? Letting out a small laugh. All paths of goodness lead to enlightenment, did you forget? Being one with nature? Izuku, I can't do it, it's too difficult. He was interrupted by Buddha. Buddha, saying something is impossible makes it impossible. Saying something is possible makes it possible. He said, sighing calmly and laughing a little. I'll give you a clue, my son. The answer is not in others, it's in you. Accept everything, love, hate, resentment, happiness, with it you will find peace. Izuku, accept everything? But if I accept everything, won't I be corrupted by evil? He said hesitantly. Buddha, not necessarily, that is what one chooses to follow. You have to walk a path of thorns to be able to find peace. Enlightenment, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional, my son. Izuku, that was it. Smiling, so that was the answer, crying with a smile, thank you. Father. Thank you very much. Buddha, what you are is what you have been. What you will be is what you do from now on. Were the last words spoken by Buddha before disappearing. Izuku, satisfied with Buddha's answers, prepares to leave the pedestal on which he is meditating, realizing while looking at the stars that it was exactly 5 a.m. Luckily the next day he had no classes. This gave him tremendous relief, but it ended when he saw that everything around him was transformed into a temple. That's right, it was the temple of the Virgin. Question mark. So this is my successor, you are full of doubts and uncertainty, I will have to teach you how to be a gentleman, Virgo. Izuku, he addressed Izuku through telepathy. Izuku, it's you. The one who was nicknamed the Silent Man, Shijima of Virgo. Shijima, walking towards Izuku with a hand posed totally unknown to him, so they already told you who I really am, although I won't be as soft as Asmita. I'm here to teach you 2 techniques, for now you will learn the first one. The 4 doors of Buddha. Izuku, I don't like violence. He said it in a neutral but at the same time worried tone. Shijima, me neither, but I'm determined that you become a worthy successor. Besides, in my eyes, it was a grave mistake to reveal to them what you are. I can't erase what you did from their minds, you used cosmos techniques. But I can erase who you really are. For them you will be Izuku. Nothing more, and as for your sister, he said pausing, she will simply be your sister. Nothing more for them. Virgo. Izuku does not exist, those are still fairy tales for them. There will be no more help. No more mistakes and no more doubts. Did you understand well? Izuku, it's not your problem, Shijima. Me revealing it doesn't concern you. He was interrupted by Shijima. Shijima, of course it concerns me, it concerns all of us deceased saints. Because of your egocentrism when fighting. You revealed to the saints. The sanctuary is hidden, but now that some people know about it, they will get the armor, and who knows? They may even use it for evil purposes, he said in a reproachful tone. Izuku simply remained silent. Everything Shijima said was true, he let his arrogance dominate him. Telling the world who he is, not only to his companions and heroes but also to the villains. A grave mistake as a saint of Virgo. Shijima, I don't want your apologies. I want your effort now, Buddha no Shimon. Saying these words, or rather, thinking them using telepathy, Izuku saw himself surrounded by 4 giant doors. Now. Your test will be the same as Buddha's. Trying to escape from here. Try to escape from here. Izuku, what is this? Are these the Buddha gates? He said in a worried tone. What are you going to do with my classmates and teachers? Shijima, they will forget that you are a saint of Athena. It was your first and last mistake to reveal that. No more mistakes, no more failures. Fulfill your purpose. Shijima, it's time for you to cross the gate of illness. As soon as he said this telepathically to Izuku, the door opened, absorbing Izuku, who as soon as he entered began to feel unwell, vomiting blood, a very strong cough and fever. Not only that. Inside that place, all kinds of monsters appeared. Inside that place, all kinds of monsters appeared. Izuku, G damn Shijima. My Virgo. Upon equipping the armor, the fight at the door of the disease began. The moment he put on the armor, the beasts jumped on him at an unmatched speed. So much so that even Izuku barely dodged them. Not only was that he was bleeding from his skin. The armor was covered in reddish tones from the blood that dripped from it. Izuku, cough. Cough. Damn. If this continues like this, he's going to kill me. All he did was try to launch bursts of cosmos, but none of the techniques worked. Damn. I have no other option but to fight with my bare hands and escape from this door. And so began a desperate fight, using a style very similar to jujitsu. He killed and beat different beasts along the corridor. He only ran to go out again and find the other 3 doors. He had succeeded to get out of the door of illness. But Shijima, gate of old age. Once again, Izuku was swallowed by one of the doors, this time the one of old age. The instant he crossed the threshold of said door, his physical change began to be noticed. A little taller, emaciated to the bones, his hair left its golden tone to have an ash white, and finally his skin became wrinkled. It didn't end there. In this hallway there were hands. Like the ones in his illusion, but instead of just hands, entire bodies came out trying to drag him into the depths, an already quite weakened Izuku. Izuku, what is this? Cough, spitting blood and trying to move as fast as he could with his fragile body. Get away, you dirty demons, I won't last long. I have to leave soon. In that one of his arms breaks Og. Already reaching the end, Izuku just ran out of the door of old age. When he left, he only saw an old man with a long beard and hair that was dragging him. Shijima, this isn't over yet. Gate of life. Believing that everything was over. Well, it is a mistake. The door of life is one of the last to open. This leads to a hell of pain and agony. Upon entering, Izuku, he could only scream in pain, agony and despair. The air was acidic. It not only burned his skin but also his lungs. The heat was by far the most noticeable thing, but that was not all. The path was full of thorns and souls in pain, willing to do anything since a long time ago. They lost their sanity. Izuku, he was on his knees on the ground almost without strength, breathing heavily. He almost had no blood left, but in his mind only the word promise resonated. I will not give up. This is nothing. He immediately got up and charged against the Izuku. He was on his knees on the ground almost without strength, breathing heavily. He almost had no blood left, but in his mind only the word promise resonated. I will not give up. This is nothing. He immediately got up and charged against the souls, barely able to handle them. His body was already unrecognizable. Parts missing in his abdomen, his hair burned, only slight strands left, and above all his eyes open, but he didn't have them, they were just empty sockets dripping blood. Izuku, and not yet. I promised. Already leaving that door. It was an infinite suffering, but Shijima, this is over. Izuku, Om. This time he recited the mantra, releasing his voice, releasing the cosmos accumulated by sealing one of his senses, gate of death. Om. This time he recited the mantra, releasing his voice, releasing the cosmos accumulated by sealing one of his senses, gate of death. At that moment the last door opened, pulling an emaciated man literally into the doors of death. Izuku, and no. I can die. Mother. It's over. Izuku found himself in eternal darkness. All traces of the Saint of Virgo vanished. As his body sank deeper and deeper into darkness, there was still something of him left. That's right. His seventh sense was still intact. The only thing he regretted in this life was not being able to receive a hug from his mother again. Since that time he was abandoned. There was Izuku's body. In a field of flowers with a completely white sky between 2 trees. But he returned to his young appearance, although very pale, covered in blood. Then he gets up alone to sit between those 2 trees. Izuku, so this is the end, he said, looking towards the nothingness of the vast white sky, but here's a very familiar voice for him. Question mark, of course not, my son, this is just your beginning, she said with a slight smile when she saw the Saint of Virgo sitting in front of her. Izuku at that moment opened his eyes in surprise and instantly shed tears. It was his mother who was behind him. He wanted to speak but only felt a hug on his back. It was that same feeling, 15 years ago. In that cold alley, when he was just a baby, he once again felt the love of a mother. Inko, look how you've gotten, my son, you're so big and handsome, looking at Izuku with a big smile. Izuku, mama. Forgive me, I couldn't keep the promise I made to you, I'm a big failure, I couldn't take care of Izumi. I don't deserve to be called a knight of Athena. With a broken voice he could only tell his mother what a resounding failure she is. Inko could only hug her little one tighter. because no matter how much title he had of being the closest to God, for her he was still her little son. Inko, you're wrong Izuku, you're very strong. You protected them all, don't you remember, despite not being by your side, you stood firm. I'm proud to be your mother, my little one, Knight of the Zodiac. She couldn't hold her usual expression, she simply burst into tears on her mother's shoulder. Izuku, mother, I will not hesitate again, I will become stronger, I will be a worthy saint of Athena. Inko, that's how you talk, my little one, begins to disappear in white particles like his surroundings. Remember Izuku. Protect the people. Protect your sister, I love you my little golden knight of Athena. Izuku could only be seen returning to the Virgo temple with several wounds, he was coming out of a hole in the ground with great difficulty. Izuku, it's not my time yet. I promised you and I plan to keep it, I will ignite my cosmos to the limit, if I have to face you and beat you to overcome your tests and protect those I love. I will not hesitate anymore. In that instant Izuku opened his eyes completely already recovered, at least his eyes. Shijima, he just smiled half then come. Man closest to God. Show me that you are worthy of that title. Om. Izuku, Khan. The fight was not of both sitting in the lotus position. Perhaps the saints of Virgo are characterized by an unusual fighting style but, in this fight both were hitting each other at the speed of light, they were kicks, bursts of cosmos, shields of the Khan mantra, and enhancers with the Om, neither of the two gave an inch, it was a chaotic battle that made the virgin's body tremble. Izuku, Shijima. He hit the side sending Shijima flying against some pillars Tenku Hajakai Morio. Shijima, Khan. He simply smiled, his successor already understood what it means to be a true knight, not only that, he unconsciously taught him the technique of the Buddha doors. It's still not enough Knight of Virgo. Cho-Om Ken. In that, millions of laser-sized bursts hit Izuku. Izuku, not yet Shijima. It resonates. Cosmos. In that instant Izuku's cosmos rose abysmally but the previous saint of Virgo to him was not far behind. Shijima, it burns to the infinite cosmos. The battle continued, to be honest it seemed like years, none of their decades were in the same condition, but Izuku seemed the most tired, even so, he did not let himself falter for even a second. In the Temple of the Virgin, in an unknown time and space, 1,000 days war was taking place. From the distance, bangs, tremors, explosions and electrical bursts were heard. The reason was simple, in the house of Virgo, in a sanctuary hidden from humanity, 1,000-day war was taking place, between the saint of the previous century, and witch, yes, a hand-to-hand combat between Izuku and Shijima of Virgo, but, something strange looked like in both. On Shijima's part he had more mature features, his hair grew longer plus his armor with several cracks, but Izuku was taller, more formed, he was covered in wounds, and his armor was not in better condition than Shijima's. In short, they have spent more than 20 years fighting. Izuku was already 36 years old, while Shijima 41. This was further than a simple 1,000-day war. The power that both gave off was very dense. In none of the years, they let their cosmos descend. After a series of blows from Shijima to Izuku, he was sent 4 meters but easily recovered and then kicked him at the speed of light, which was blocked. Even so the oldest Virgo saint flew out, and then launched repeated bursts of cosmos. It should be noted that for a year Shijima did not say a word. Like Izuku, he never opened his eyes. Something was about to happen, they both felt it. The end. The beginning? Nobody could know what was coming, only that both used the most powerful technique of the Virgo saints, the treasure of heaven, but both only had 3 senses remaining. On Izuku's part, it was sight, the 6th and 7th sense, and Shijima was taste and the same ones mentioned. Shijima, I guess I underestimated you. You've gotten stronger, not only that, but since 10 years ago, you've regained your composure, even in hand-to-hand combat. But this isn't over yet. Izuku, thanks for the compliment, but I think it's time to end this 1,000-day war, he said, speaking to Shijima directly in his mind. Shijima, even though it was very bold to use the treasure of heaven, but you have already realized it. I started to speak. At that moment both Shijima and Izuku began to raise their cosmos even more to the point that their armor began to revive. Due to the loss of blood of both, something inexplicable was happening. Before something else collapsed, only one word was heard from Shijima. Shijima, Ungyo. As soon as he said those words, Shijima began to emit a growl from his mouth with the Buddhist mantra Om, but not the technique of the saints. For Izuku that growl came from another dimension, another universe, but he knew something. That sound meant the end of the universe. After starting to emit the sound, Shijima's cosmos turned off and darkness in its purest state began to sprout, beginning to swallow everything in its path. It was literally the end of the universe. More and more darkness began to go in the direction of Is. After starting to emit the sound, Shijima's cosmos went out and darkness in its purest state began to sprout, beginning to swallow everything in its path. It was literally the end of the universe. More and more darkness began to go in Izuku's direction, but he already had a technique, the opposite side of the Ungyo coin, the perfect attack to counter Shijima's. Instantly Izuku opened his eyes, but they were different, they were full of light and life, with a more reddish-orange tone. More and more cosmos radiated from him so that he could only speak in his and Shijima's thoughts. Izuku, Agyo. At that moment a galaxy was created around Izuku. Not only that, his cosmos began to turn into a light more intense than that of the sun itself. It was counteracting Shijima's darkness. All you could hear was the end of time, a clash between light and darkness, life against death. This battle will decide how dark or bright the cosmos of both is. A titanium clash, which led nowhere. When Izuku created life, Shijima erased it with eternal darkness and immediate death, and at the same time Izuku replaced that death with new life, new universes and new light. The clash continued for at least 3 weeks, none of them spoke to each other, none of them had doubts, none of them were willing to lose. Something was taking place that only the gods themselves are capable of creating, the Saizeruten, better known as the cycle of eternal reincarnation, something that the two of them knew very well. They were creating life and death, they are entering divine territory. And this could cause the wrath of the gods who for a long time left humanity calm. Light against darkness, that was the only thing that could be seen in the Temple of the Virgin. After many days of intense combat, the time has come. After many days of intense combat, the moment arrived. The beginning of the end, and the end of the beginning. The technique broke, the explosion was monumental, so much so that the only thing Izuku was able to hear before his armor returned to him was a well done from Shijima, and then he simply fell in the middle of both attacks and thus returned to the lotus pedestal that was in the UA. Izuku barely got up, he had returned to being 16 years old, he was bleeding profusely, his armor on his necklace. If what Shijima said was true, he blocked the memories of most people, or rather, he put them at the center of those attacks, to eliminate them from the universe and any existing dimension. With great difficulty, he walked towards the dormitories, healing his wounds by at least stopping the bleeding. He stumbled several times, with unimaginable pain, but it was still worth it. He learned both how to use the Buddha doors and the counter to his attack, the Ungyo. His former monk robes, with a color as white as snow, were now replaced by a crimson red. There was no part of Izuku's clothes which were of their original color. Already reaching the entrance, he noticed that many of his classmates were in the common room. He did not care, he was on the verge of unconsciousness, but he learned a lesson: do not underestimate, do not fall into arrogance. And more than anything in the world, never trust someone weak in sight. Not only that, after leaving the door of death, he was able to become one with nature. He knew how to understand it, appreciate it and live with it. Upon reaching the door and opening it, he could only see his classmates. Kirishima, hey! Izuku, we were wondering where is. Huh? Izuku? Izumi, brother. She said quite upset. They changed their faces from happiness to one of absolute horror. They knew that Izuku was not the type to make this kind of jokes. They stood still watching as a barely standing Izuku walked towards them just to say. Izuku, hey! I think I overdid it while training, I'm dying. For vanilla ice cream. The moment he took his last breath, he fell to the ground like a sack of stones. Immediately, all of his roommates became worried, even a yellow car battery, but a C4, was already in his room so he didn't care at all. Hagakure, Izuku. Wake up Izuku. Izumi, brother react. Todoroki, this is bad, he lost a lot of blood. Lita, find the teacher quickly, or bring recovery girl. Lita, I didn't wait any longer and ran off to the UA in search of help. It was strange that all his companions forgot about him as a Virgo Knight. It was thanks to Shijima, but there was something strange. Were they all awake at 5 a.m.? For some reason it was only 9 p.m. A battle that lasted more than 20 years, not only was the time in the sanctuary reduced, but it was set back. The 1,000-day war ended, but only 3 people witnessed such a battle, the Virgo Saints, and Buddha. The next day, Izuku found himself in the school infirmary, just waking up wearing only black pants resembling a swimsuit. He was wondering what had happened, but instantly he remembered everything he had experienced, an inexplicable suffering, an eternal battle, and 2 new techniques learned. He tried to get up but his body was so battered that he only managed to sit up, and immediately the youth heroine, Recovery Girl, entered. Recovery Girl, who, I see you're already awake, approaching Izuku's stretcher only to hit him with her cane. Oh my god kids, you gave us quite a scare last night, your clothes are being washed with someone's quirk, you said that outfit was important so we took it to be cleaned. Izuku, thanks for that and, I'm sorry for making that scene he said nodding his head in gratitude and apology maybe I'll go overboard with the training. Recovery girl, and what a workout, we had to give you 2 full liters of blood. You were on the verge of a coma, but I see you recovered pretty quickly. Izuku, excuse me, do you know where my armor is? I mean my necklace? Recovery girl, armor? I don't know what you're talking about, but your necklace is next to you, she said, pointing to the counter next to her. Izuku, hey, thanks for everything. Recovery girl, don't even mention it. All your classmates were scared, even more so your little sister. Said the little old woman in a reproachful tone. For now, if you go to train you will be watched. Not even my quirk could heal you so quickly, I don't know what kind of wounds you got or attacks you used but you went too far, you even arrived with your hair red, I thought you dyed it. Izuku, red color? Did I become Shijima or was it because of the blood maybe? After being taken out of his thoughts by Class 1A who entered the infirmary worried about his classmate, since the impression of the previous night did not go away so easily. Kirishima, hey Izuku bro, I brought you ice cream. He didn't finish speaking as the vanilla-flavored ice cream pot disappeared from his hands just to see Izuku with the ice cream and a spoon already taking bites. Ha ha ha, I see you wanted to eat something. Mina, hey Izuku, are you okay? Izumi, brother, does anything hurt? You worried us all the way you came yesterday. Izuku, with his head bowed and his eyes shadowed this is. Everyone thought something was wrong with him again but everything fell apart when Izuku saw him with his eyes open and a face of maximum happiness and pleasure for his ice cream. Izuku, this is delicious. The texture, the coldness, the creaminess, the vanilla flavor, I love life. With a stupid smile on his face. Class 1A, it's more than fine. Hagakure, huh? Izuku, your eyes were always blue? Intrigued by the color of Izuku's eyes. Tokoyami, to be honest, this is the first time I've seen them. Ojiro, they are exaggeratedly blue. And I think a pretty strong blue. Todoroki, strange. Mineta, I don't remember them like that. He said with a little fear. Izuku, and how do you remember them? Mineta, no idea. Girl. Izumi, giving a long sigh. Here we go again. Izuku, who are you calling pervert grape girl? Mineta, Jojo, I'm a super pervert, but not a transvestite. Momo, how vulgar, he said looking at Mineta. Hagakure, Izuku is a woman? Izuku, I am not, I just like having long hair, he said closing his eyes. Todoroki, I didn't think Izuku was a woman, this surprises me, he said expressionlessly. Bakugo, ha 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 ha, you were a bitch this whole time, and you're surprised half and half? Todoroki, that you have a short fuse. Bakugo, what did you say, walking refrigerator? Izuku, I don't care what you two say, and you, cheap copy of Don Pepe and the balloons, I will repeat again that I am not a woman. Lita, guys, let's solve this civilly. Bakugo/Izuku, you shut up, a Saint Bolt's cousin. Mina, ha 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 ha, this is quite funny. Kyoka, I'm surprised Izuku was a woman, she said, holding back her laughter. Kaminari, ha ha ha, I didn't expect that. Kyoka, luckily he's not an idiot like you, Kaminari. At that moment we could see Kaminari in a corner making circles with his fingers. Tsuyu, has anyone seen Mineta-kun? Karo? At that, everyone looked at Izuku, who was pretending to be asleep only to look up at the ceiling of the room, where Mineta was embedded in the structure. Class 1A, he is a terrible actor. Izumi, sighing a little nervously, gee guys, what if we calm down a little? Uraka, yes, let's let Izuku-kun rest. Izuku, I'm going to cut that fuse off, you damn Acme brand explosive. Uraka, forget it. Bakugo, come and try it. I'll make you explode. He started making explosions with his hands. Allahu Akbar. It was complete chaos in the infirmary. All of Izuku's training was for this? Well, no, despite becoming calmer, she can handle some calling her a girl, but Mineta wasn't the one, before Bakugo lashed out with an explosion. In came Mama Caterpillar. Aizawa, we're in the infirmary, you better go, tomorrow you go back to normal classes. Sero, eh? But sensei still laughing, this was getting good. Sato, yes sensei. Aizawa, did they say something? Entire class 1A, nothing at all sir. Once everyone left the infirmary, Izuku began to calm down. He felt happy to be in Class 1A, a feeling of well-being flooded him, and he only let out a small smile which seemed curious to Recovery Girl. "Recovery Girl, what's going on?" she asked in a somewhat carefree manner. "Izuku, I think the stranger life is, the more meaningful it is." He said this with a genuine smile. Seeing this, Recovery Girl was surprised by Izuku's words, thinking that despite being such a simple comment, he was absolutely right. "Recovery Girl, you're strange, but you're absolutely right, young man." A few days after Izuku's recovery, everything went back to normal classes and normal training, except for an incident in which, the number one hero, All Might, gave a lesson to his students, which was not very well received by his pupils but by Izuku, since due to his protective brother complex he gave All Might the cold shoulder. You might wonder, how did the Saint of Virgo lose his calm and attack the most beloved hero with a monstrous kick? Well, for his daring lesson, Izumi ended up with her hand destroyed by using her quirk. At the moment Izuku kicked him, everyone recorded this in their minds: do not mess with Izumi, or you will see hell on earth. Apparently Kaminari put aside his jealousy and arrogance and tried to socialize more with Izuku, which was very difficult for him. Izuku was not someone of many words, he preferred to meditate in his room, something that everyone found strange. Mineta thought and claimed that he did teenage things, something totally false, since when he always left his room to drink some fresh water he left the door ajar. At that moment only 5 people saw Izuku's room: Mineta, Hagakure, Lita, Uraka and Mina. They didn't go in, they just saw a little. It was an Indian style, a small statue of Buddha, almost the same height as Mineta, a lotus flower-shaped pedestal with some silk cushions and a bonsai. They couldn't see anything else but they did smell the vanilla incense, before leaving as Izuku returned to his room. Everyone already knew something about the closed-eyed blonde. He was quite calm and liked everything that had vanilla, ice cream, smells. Even the vanilla extract that Sato used for his cake preparations disappeared since Izuku liked to put drops of it on his tongue. They were also aware of the feelings of an invisible girl for the saint. It was more than obvious, but currently the protector of the Virgin was calmer, more peaceful. He no longer got upset so easily when she confused him with a woman. He had an aura of serenity and peace around him, but he became more confident without a doubt. But what they did not know is that he also lost all his piety. Classes began, now with hero practice, which impressed many that All Might would not be the one directing this time, but Aizawa himself. "Aizawa, this is sudden, but in today's hero class, 4 students from Asami High School will be joining us as special guests." The 4 students were 2 men and 2 women. One of the men was stocky with a teddy bear face and had spiky brown hair resembling a mohawk. The other was tall, with light blue-white hair, a bad boy look, and gave off the same aura. The first girl was of medium height, had straight platinum hair down to her shoulders and was wearing glasses. The other was hiding behind the latter. After seeing her the class gave a shout of excitement. "Mineta, there's a girl with glasses," he said excitedly, shaking Izuku and moving him with excitement. "Izuku, is it necessary for you to shake me like that? Besides, you're very excited," said the knight expressionlessly. "Kaminari, young lady, can I have your number?" Approaching the platinum-haired girl, but out of nowhere a jack, known to all, embedded itself in Pikachu's ear, leaving him stunned on the ground. "Kyoka, gosh, stop showing your stupidity." At the same time Kirishima and Sero were choking on laughter, but that and other scandals ended when the teacher showed his most malevolent face of an anxious drug addict. Instantly all the students fell silent with absolute fear, as did the students who would do the hero practice together. "Aizawa, you may introduce yourselves," addressing the guest students. "Skigai, why yes, we will do the hero exercise with you today. I am Skigai Kashiko." "Tadden, same class, I'm Tadden Dadan, nice to meet you," he said with a lot of sweat and wiping it with a handkerchief. Fujimi. "Izuku, this is bad. As far as I know fire against fire doesn't make them both cancel each other out. In this case it will be worse." He sighed heavily. What was missing? "Aizawa, there's supposed to be one more." "Tsuyu, Karo?" "Abuko, Tsuyu-chan," she said, hugging the little frog. "Tsuyu, Abuko-chan." Also hugging her apparently longtime friend. "Uraka, a friend of Tsuyu-chan?" "Izumi, what is this? For some reason I get nervous. This wouldn't happen in nature." "Fujimi, hey, don't act all friendly with these UA guys." "Bakugo, what the hell did you say? Damn fucking Asami." "Izumi, gee, leave it, Kachan." Already nervous about her classmates' behavior. "Bakugo, shut up, you damn nerd." "Aizawa, why don't you shut up first?" At the same time the bell rang. It's time everyone, go get your hero costumes. I'll see you at the Omega Field for training, class president. Izuku, guide Asami's students. Izuku, nodding his head in response, he got up from his position to go to the front with Asami's students. Fujimi, why does a girl have a man's name? Izuku, I'm a male, sorry for the inconvenience, please follow me. At this several of his classmates laughed quietly. Seeing Izuku with a throbbing vein in his head, Aizawa was grateful for the now self-control that Izuku had. Asami's girls and the chubby boy stared at him. They felt that aura of harmony, temperance and peace that the student emanated, something that the boy quickly became confident in, as did the girls, except for a cheap copy of a C4 from Asami. Once changed and ready, the students went to the Omega Field, which was an immense forest, where the hero test would take place. At the last minute, someone would join as a supervisor for the training since they did not give prior notice. Aizawa, well, since everyone is here, the hero exercise will be observed by me and one other person. Out of nowhere, a scream was heard from the sky. Izuku hid his face knowing what was coming, and Izumi, well, the saint's sister always liked her predecessor's entrances. All Might, Watashi ga. All Might, as a special guest. I arrived. Fujimi, All Might? He said with clear emotion, seeing an idol as a hero. Skigai, it's real? With his hands on his mouth as if he couldn't believe it. Hadden, what great power. It's incredible. Said the boy who looked like a Mega Man boss. Abuko, how envious. Ua. All Might, so, for our little exercise today everyone will go through survival training. Kirishimiya, survival training? Kaminari, like a battle royal? As well as PUBG? Kyoka, what does video games have to do with this? She said, scolding the electrician. All Might, let me explain. Teams of 4 individuals will be formed and 6 of them will start in predetermined positions. Of course, you know who is the strongest in this class, right? At that all the students except Asami's looked at Izuku, who didn't even flinch. At the same time Asami's were surprised that that boy was the strongest. All Might, that's right young Izuku, he'll go on his own, to make it more fair. Skigai, All Might sensei. Don't you think it's a little unfair? Feeling sorry for Izuku. All Might, ha. 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 With his classic laugh, don't let his appearance fool you, young Skigai. Young Izuku is capable of fighting me on equal terms. He's the one you have to worry about the most. The objective of this training is not only to survive, it's also to cross the pantheon. The hologram shows the image of a Greek pantheon on the mountain. All Might, you have 3 options to pass the test. 1. Escape and survive. All Might, they have 3 options to pass the test. 1. Escape and survive. 2. Fight and survive, and 3. Cross the pantheon, but this is the most difficult since it will be protected by a guardian. And yes, that guardian is young Izuku. Izuku, Shijima said that he erased everyone's memories regarding me as a Virgo saint, but this is too much of a coincidence, or maybe the one writing this is obsessed with the Battle of the 12 Houses in Saint Seiya, or yes. And the one reading this story is the same, he thought, breaking the 4th. Wait, what? Once the teams were done, they all went to their assigned places. Probably, someone explosive would try to win the test by crossing the pantheon, but Izuku would not make it easy for anyone. The test began. Izuku was in the lotus position inside the gigantic structure that could be seen many meters away. He did not expect anyone to go towards him, since his class knew Izuku too well not to have a direct confrontation. Even Bakugo swallowed his pride to avoid a confrontation with the Virgo Saint, but there were 4 people who did not know anything about Izuku, so he immediately heard footsteps approaching, at the entrance of his established base. Skigai, using her quirk, she was analyzing the place and detecting Izuku empty place, no one nearby, target 6 meters away, in lotus position. What is this? She said in a choppy manner with some fear. Fujimi, what's wrong? Let's finish off that fool and finish the test. Hadden, this is making me nervous, starting to sweat profusely. Abuko, what's wrong Skigai-chan? Skigai, I don't detect anything. Something is happening, my sensors are distorting before that, the level scale was out of the average in relation to Izuku-san. Hadden, what does it mean? Why you're scaring me? Skigai, I don't know. Fujimi, there it is. Quickly shoot it. Without thinking, Hadden fired his missiles. Without measuring himself, he fired real high-grade military missiles. That was his quirk, missile creation. More than 50 missiles were heading towards a silhouette, but the 4 invited candidates were speechless and only heard one word. Izuku, Khan. Blocking the missiles with his cosmos shield, generating a great roar, leaving the four aspiring heroes shocked. The roar was such that the power waves were distorted in the environment, generating a shock wave large enough to be heard by everyone. Fujimi, fuck you. Get out of my way. Abuko, wait. Don't go. Sekigaki, stop. Almost immediately Izuku moved his hand slightly, sending Fujimi flying. Izuku, apparently, you've underestimated me. That's a fatal mistake for a hero. Any excess of confidence and rushing to the rescue without first thinking about the limits of your objective is suicide. Learn your lesson. Goma in. Izuku's hair began to rise a little, his fine-featured face did not change its calm expression. That was what made him terrifying. The four heroes were paralyzed on the ground by the increased gravity. They had underestimated the man closest to a god, and this was the price to pay. Izuku, now, go. Raising his hand, he sent a strong wind imbued with cosmos which took the four out of the Pantheon, and then the doors of it closed violently. After the fight in the Pantheon, Izuku meditated for hours, since the test still continued, thinking about several things. One of them is suffering, which has already been a topic of conversation with his father. Life is beautiful in his perspective, death is the end, but his father told him that it was not like that. He still did not understand that, but his mental maturity was strengthened. Although he hates death and wars, if he had to kill someone who with their hands and their ideals poisoned society, he would do it without mercy. Although he would cry for his death, despite the fact that he was a rapist, murderer, or any calamity of this world, he was a living being, for which he would at least pray for his soul to be purified in the hell to which he would be sent, and pay the consequences of his actions. He did not know that the battle was over. He began to talk to himself about life, failures and motivations, something that the students together with their teachers already returned to normal by an incident they were listening. Izuku was with a sheet of paper, and a pen floating in front of him, something like a will with a wide smile. Izuku, we are simply humans, no matter how many powers we have, we are simple and insignificant humans. Every day we strive to improve, every day we fight for a better tomorrow. We live in a world so vast and beautiful, that sometimes it torments us because of how big it is. Who would say there are so many heroes? And many more on the way. Every step they take towards greatness is one lesson that ascent may be the most difficult, but once you reach the top, the view is the most beautiful of the path one traveled. At these words the students were more than moved. Absolutely everyone looked at Izuku with new eyes. His sister was remembering her past, how she was a victim of insults, how her mother died, but also how she was getting up. This made her shed tears with a big smile on her face. All Might in the same way. His pride towards the blonde boy grew more and more. He would be a great hero, not for his strength, but for his indomitable heart. Skigai, he's amazing. He said with admiration to Izuku.